Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today we have with us Matt, Holly, and Jade. We're going to be watching Matt do some art today. And
Hello, everyone.
as voted in the Colony Discord server, which if you're not a member, head on over there. I'll probably throw a link into the chat here in a minute, but we everybody voted that today we were going to be working on het art.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm getting a little audio feedback from somewhere.
Oh?
Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Yes, hello. I am Matt. I'll be doing the drawing today. I'm not a particularly verbose person when I'm working, so I will be relying on my panel just a little bit to kind of carry the silence and kind of discuss what's going on.
Yeah, well.
So we're going to be working on something from the heck today, and we're going to be diving into the Hollow. The Hollow is a unique kind of het magic. We haven't visually depicted it yet before, so we're going to be doing a little bit of trial and error here and getting something that looks good. Isaac, if you want, you can go ahead and go in and explain a little bit about the Hollow and how that works.
Absolutely. So, in the world of Aoyama, there are basically three different layers, so to speak, to their reality. There is the physical plane, which is most commonly referred to as Aoyama, and it's the world on which all of the Sakuta dwell. And it's the plane where their souls inhabit physical matter, which is their their shells, their bodies, their husks. And then the next place that's most often spoken of is the Dreamlands, which is kind of like this undertow of spiritual energy, and it has all of these flowing uh, memories and personality traits and dreams and as people are born into Aoyama, they're these little bits and pieces of memories and personality traits and thoughts and all of these different things kind of cling onto that newborn, and that's how everybody's kind of interconnected in a way through the Dreamlands. Between the Dreamlands and Aoyama is what is called the Wretched Hollow. And the Wretched Hollow is void space. It's this slip space where there's just nothing. And it's meant to be this veil and barrier between the two worlds to make sure that they don't excuse me, so that way oh god, sorry, I'm a little bit burpy. So that way they don't become mixed with each other, and so that way reality can be distinguished between each other. So that way the experience of the world of living within Aoyama is that purpose is fulfilled. And the purpose of living in the Sakuta's cultural perspective is that they are meant to collect experience and experience emotions and grief and just all these spectrums of being a person, collecting memories and putting out good or evil into the world, making those kinds of choices, exercising agency to develop those parts of their souls that they've been gifted from the Dreamlands. So that way, when they inevitably give up those things back into the Dreamlands, the hope is that you make the rest of the universe better for having lived. And so that is kind of like a big wrap of the bigger concept of it all. And so the hollow is something that is usually not supposed to be accessed by mortals. There have been a few lore shorts where I've expressed certain occasions in which that has been breached. The first occasion being the Sorasal Vo, and it said that in legend she had stayed still for so long that reality itself had forgotten that she existed. And she was able to slip her physical form through the hollow into the Dreamlands. The very first and only person to do so. And the deep laws of the universe punished her for it, and the Dreamlands kept her eyes. And so she now sees through the Dreamlands. She doesn't see the physical plane. She sees people and events through the lens of the Dreamlands. And then, as an additional punishment, when she was pulled back over into Aoyama, the hollow ripped out her wings and left void where they ought to have been. And so now she has these completely dark, pitch black muted wings that are completely silent, making her an even better hunter than she was previously. So she's a very, very unique individual. The other occasion on which the Hollow is accessed by mortals is, strangely enough, the Het, and it was completely on accident. In the Song of Origins, the tale is spun about Klee, a roe who was deceived by Zek and who was eventually became the first Het. Their name was changed to Het. And during that deception, when they were corrupted by him, a part of them was taken. That the part of them that was able to access the light and magic of S, Su, and the Mother Tree. It was ripped out of their souls. And left there was a void. And the void naturally, as part of the universe, was filled in by the hollow. And so there are many spells and rituals that are related to being able to access the hollow. And while they can't breach the hollow into the dreamlands, they are able to send things in and out of the hollow. And sometimes it's not so straightforward. It's not quite as clear cut as what you might expect, but there are some levels of control that Het are able to exhibit with the hollow. And so we're going to be able to see some of those examples here today that Matt's making.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I want to communicate visually with the hollow is the fact that Het magic is very alchemical. So there's a lot of ingredients involved. They're mixing and matching things. And one of the primary ingredients for the holocraft is fungus. And so before the stream, I was doing a little bit of research, looking up some like mycota lattices, slime molds, and just gathering a lot of reference for like the shape languages that you'll find within fungus, and just like kind of brainstorming ways that that could be incorporated into the shape of their spells. So right now, I am more or less just trying to figure out a pose I like for the spell that I am painting. So the spell is Hollow Point, which is sort of like a nullification spell. It's meant to capture and swallow an opponent's magical effect. So you can kind of see here, I have this idea of the head almost like catching the spell in their hand, and then the hollow kind of splashing out and swallowing it up. So just trying different angles, different poses, seeing what I feel is the most dynamic and interesting.
So, Hollow Point being kind of like an anti-magic spell is inspired, of course, by counterspell magic from other fantasy settings, but kind of taken into this more culturally specific, world-specific expression of that idea. So.
So it looks like we have some questions over on the YouTube side of the stream.
Absolutely, yeah. Love to answer some questions. One moment, let me go check them out.
Those hands, even in sketch form, look so good. It took me so long. Just like, look at him whipping it out.
Yeah, one thing you learn from figure drawing is it's really about the line flow ahead of time, and then when you go to do your finer line work later, you're kind of just tracing what you already did quickly.
Let's see. So here's some of the questions. Does bug scent languages affect the dreamland if they're sent like a letter? So they don't really have letters precisely in Colony. They're the quote unquote written language of Colony is their pheromone glyphs, the Momoku, which we've talked about to some extent. The Momoku are actually interfaces into the dreamlands. They are the way that they impart memories into Aoyama and are able to leave behind messages through that method. So they, in a way, Momoku are directly tied into the magic and the energies of the dreamlands. So they don't really like send letters precisely like that. If they have to send messages long distance, they will usually send a messenger, and that messenger will either just memorize the message, or they will carry, if it's something more sensitive, they carry an object that has a Momoku tied to it, and they have to like conceal that within some kind of a container, and then they, escort that off. So the as far as would that make her a prophetess, I imagine what you're referring to is is Vo. Vo is sort of a prophetess. She does see. It's not precisely the future. A little bit kind of Dune-esque style prophetic concepts at play here with how do I express it? The way that intentions are expressed in Dune, where Paul can see the intentions of everybody across the universe and the past actions and events that lead up to the moment that they're in, and he's able to understand all of the future possibilities that lay in front of him, and he's able to shape those through his own actions. In a similar concept to that, that's sort of how Vo works, but Vo doesn't have the desire to shape the future to her own to her own desires. She wants to maybe indirectly influence others to potentially play out a scenario that she might find interesting to witness, but she doesn't really have much interest in directing the flow of destiny and fate herself. Matt, you got to be careful. We're on YouTube right now.
Hey, yeah, no, chill out, chill out. It's in the process. No, but the idea I've sort of had is that like when they make holes or pathways into the hollow, it's almost like slice through reality with like fungus bleeding out.
Oh yeah, so the main alchemical component for Het to access the hollow is through fungus as their main component. Do hollows smell good? Jesus Christ, absolutely not. They don't smell like anything. It's nothing. Quite literally, the absence of anything cannot smell like anything, right? Like
Do you have a like certain color theme that you envision for the Het's magic, or is it just like Vanta black? I see you using some red there.
As far as the hollow magic goes, it's black with iridescent shimmers scattered throughout. But most of the rest of their magic is red.
Okay.
Why? Is that like
Me googling iridescence before the stream to figure out what that actually means.
Yeah, for real. I'm just like, I'm so glad I'm watching the stream because I haven't drawn the magic at all yet, and I'm sure Matt will do all the heavy lifting. But no, Isaac comes in iridescent. What do you mean?
how?
That's okay.
How is that confusing?
It's not. It's not confusing. It's just, it's hard to draw.
I see. Okay. Well, sorry. I have an aesthetic in mind for all these things.
No, don't be sorry. I'm gonna get it.
Oh, man. This is an insane depiction. I like when I initially thought about how I wanted the void, like in any holocraft magic to look. It was always just like very Vanta black. Just it looks like nothing. This is a much more interesting interpretation of it.
Yeah, I mentioned before the stream that I kind of had the idea from Stranger Things, where instead of the magic being like very ethereal and just kind of hanging in the air, it's more tied to the physical elements that are required to complete the spell. And so you do kind of get this like tangible, physical, kind of gross, like fleshy, like tear in reality that it's not exactly clean. It's kind of gross. It's kind of disgusting, and it's just this opening into nothingness.
I like the notion that it is an unnatural thing, and that's why it's very gross and disgusting like that.
Yeah. Delineating between the row and the het and their magic is definitely something I've been trying to push more visually. Uh, I think initially the het sort of had similar magic to the row, where it was like lots of red lines and it's triangular geometry. That kind of Doctor Strange look. And I think we've been trying to push more to something that feels real and feels tangible.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the more recent ones I did was a smoke spell, and I really try to push that feeling of like you're in this dirt grime and they're just mixing and throwing things at you.
More questions. Is the hollow is a void, like a pure void, or is there some dark energy writhing around in some cosmic expanse somewhere that the head can access? It's a great question. It is somewhere between a pure void and something more akin to like where all the trash goes. It is just like pure Vanta black when you go in there. There's no light sources, nothing. And eventually, if you accidentally get stuck in the hollow, you would just starve to death. That's basically how you would die. There are entities that do live in the hollow, but nobody knows what they are. And even I don't know what they are, because I don't particularly care to explore that. But it is something that it's where all the lost things go, I suppose. As far as like dark cosmic energy kinds of things, there's some things that are there that are hard to explain and that nobody really understands the origins of them, but they're again mysterious and nobody's really been able to survive long enough to document what any of those things are. So is cordyceps fungus zombies a thing in this world? They sure are.
Spooky.
Yes. Cordyceps are kind of viewed as being like plagues. They recognize them as being illnesses, and like pathological illnesses, and so they treat them as such. And if you look at the behavior of real world ants and insects that are affected by cordyceps, especially eusocial ones, they're able to pluck out identifying features of other ants that are affected by cordyceps, and they will either like shun them, like make sure that they're not able to stay in the colony, or they make sure that they're disposed of quickly, even to the extent that those who come in contact with the infected one will even off themselves to make sure that they don't incidentally spread any kind of infection. So, yes, we do have cordyceps. They are treated like plagues, and for the most part, in contemporary storytelling times of the colony stuff, they're mostly a non-issue, but you do hear about them getting infected every so often. So, yeah. How's it going, Bennett? Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here.
God, that looks so gnarly. I love it.
Mhm.
It's a great question. Will there be a way to use cordyceps or similar fungi to charm, control, berserk opponent players? There's nothing cordyceps-wise because of how dangerous they are. But the hollowcraft magic it does use funguses. There are tales of other Het clans, or excuse me, Het covens that have experimented with cordyceps in the past and have driven themselves mad trying to incorporate them into their rituals until they just entirely destroyed themselves. But that's not to say that there aren't others that are trying to do the same thing, but nobody's ever been successful using them. As far as other kinds of controlled berserk stuff, while it's not cordyceps that are doing it, there are mamoku, pheromones, that if you can weaponize them successfully, you can effectively, unwittingly, start controlling the behaviors of other players just through chemical persuasion. So yes, that is a thing that does exist. It's just not by the mechanism of cordyceps.
You might notice that the brush window keeps opening and closing rapidly, and I am not sure why, but the button on my pen seems to be not wanting to actually stay there. So
I don't see anything on the screen, but
it may not be.
yeah.
It may not be being captured by the window capture.
Did
But
the
I have
dream?
to reach over to my mouse to adjust my brush each time.
Oof.
Yeah, kind of annoying, but we'll work with it.
Mm-hmm. Do the Dreamlands have anything physically tangible, or is it all just swirling ideas and stuff? It is an entire realm of only energies and only meta-spiritual material. There's nothing physical within it. And that is
It might
one
be
of the...
interested in the Sakau's relation to the Dreamlands.
That's true. So, the Sakau, the cicada folk, they have in Taman, where the first setting is being placed, out in the glass desert, also known as Kitinep, they have a cathedral out there that is built around the base of a tree, and they have this tree trunk sectioned off in 9 sections. There are what they call congregations of Sakau that sleep in against the bark of every section of this, and in cycles, every 9 years, they will go to sleep for 9 years, and they will effectively live in the Dreamlands while they mature in their I don't know, husks. I don't know what they're called, but inside of their effectively cocoons, they dream and they live in the Dreamlands, and they experience a life free of physicality for the first 9 years of their life. And then each year, one of the congregations will awaken, and the moment that they awaken, the first instinct that they have in their bodies is to burst out of their cocoons and to start singing praises to S with their voices and their wings. And then they spend the next year preparing food and performing rituals and rites of passage for their people, and then they have kids who then nestle into their last places on the trunk, and then they fall asleep, and then the cycle continues year after year. 9 congregations, one every year. And they, as a result of being in the Dreamlands for so long, in much a similar way to the way that Vo now sees through the Dreamlands with her eyes, the Dreamlands kind of they start finding those same kinds of patterns where they're able to predict events that are going to occur eventually through all of the actions that are occurring within the physical world. Light has strange effects on bugs as they're light-focused magic styles. There are the Roe, the butterfly folk, all of their magic is precipiced on different forms of light. Including things like hard light for fortification, focused light for like laser beam kind of concepts, illusory light with illusion spells, even so far as being able to detect small traces of radiation within the synapses of other Sakuda's brains, and being able to interpret what they might be able, what that individual might do in the immediate future, through mild form of divination. So yes, there is light-based magic. And most of that is entirely based off of the Roe. For those of you who don't know, there's only 4 peoples in Aoyama who have access to magic. The first that was gifted magic was the Roe, and that was back at the beginning of their origins at the Mother Tree right before the exile. Shortly after that, well, actually, not shortly after that. Within an interim of time, the Idome discovered that they were exceptionally good at manipulating Mamoku, and so they started using that ability integrated into their traditions of music, and that's how the bardic Mamoku music traditions of the Idome came about, and that's in some ways a magical effect in and of itself, but it's not necessarily a divine blessed magic. It's more of a biological concept at its core. At some point, when Zek came and gave stole the magic from Klee, who eventually became Het, he bestowed upon Klee his magic, which was these alchemical magics of science, and with these mild dredges of their old magic kind of supplementing to create a slightly more powerful form of their magic. And then shortly after that, when Zek created the Children of the Amber, he bestowed runic magic, which was a combination of his alchemical magic and the blessed Roe magic. Into this amalgam, he blessed this runic magic to the Arak, the spider folk. And so they are able to create spells by weaving them into their webs as they lay down silk. And those are the only 4 species in the world of Colony that have access to magical effects like that.
Once I get to the painting phase, I might try to restart Photoshop. God bless technical issues, but
Sure thing.
it's going to be really hard to work if I can't adjust my brush on the fly.
Yeah, just let me know when you want to do that, and I can take a beat to show off the Colony role-playing game cards that we worked on this past weekend.
Hi, Kayla.
Who's Caleb here? Oh, hey, Caleb.
With his classic barrage of questions, he's gonna keep you yapping.
Always.
Good.
Mans is a professional yapper. Oh, looks like we got some stuff in the Colony Q&A. What is the philosophy behind the Children of Amber? It's a good question. I this has been a sentiment expressed in years past of the ideas that the Sakuda kind of crafted around their mythology. And it's kind of commentary on the way real life religion and scripture kind of evolves and adapts over time, is that as certain forms of prejudices culturally start to come forward, then those start to become either misinterpreted or represented within their religious texts to describe them as, you know, being sinners because of this reason or that. And so in the case of the Children of Amber, the philosophical idea was that they recognized that these species were antagonistic to them on a life-threatening level, and so they mythologized them within this context of it being that they were descendants of the satanic character within their mythology. That philosophically, that's why I wrote it that way. There is, however, within the confines of that ideology, within the within their mythological context, there is some truth to the origins of how it all came about, but it's not as clear cut, and it's not necessarily stuff that I want to spoil just yet. So,
one thing that is good to keep in mind when it comes to Colony is that the sort of ephemeral nature in which the Sakuda live, being that their consciousness is derived from the dreamlands, and in some ways, like, their perception of reality shapes reality itself in a certain way. Being that, like, when they communicate using the Momoku, they're not writing a language that is like strictly dictated. They are just communicating how they perceive the world to someone else, and then they consume that information as the other person perceived it. And so you kind of get this weird effect where what is mythological and what is real is like kind of blurred, and it's never quite one or the other. And it gives it a very, like, for lack of better terms, dreamlike quality to the world.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is something that I like, not having certain parts of the answers even to myself, because that to me helps me express more creative parts of the world where I am not confined to being. I don't have to be necessarily scientifically accurate, as some of the people in our YouTube comments have bemoaned about, where they're like, this isn't accurate, and it's like, I know, but rule of cool's better in this case. And I think that adhering strictly to one form of creativity to another diminishes opportunities to tell more compelling stories. And especially, like, given my adoration for storytelling in these kinds of secondary worlds, where the themes that you craft cultures and people and characters around within these mythologies and within, like I said, the cultures, being able to tie those themes within things that you personally care about, I think matters at a much higher degree than trying to achieve a particular style of world building or a particular style of storytelling. And that's why I just kind of laugh at the people who are like, well, that's not scientifically accurate. Yeah, I know, I don't care. Like, I'd rather this tell something emotional through this scientific lens than I am about trying to be completely accurate in my representation.
I also think that there's a point to be made that if we were going for total scientific accuracy, then we would be outside filming a documentary about insects, not crafting a game and writing stories about Sakuda.
Very much so, yeah, I agree. Looks like we have another question. What about bug versions of early forms of firearms, like fire lances using the harvest chemicals of bombarder beetles. That is something that has been brought to my attention many a times. Yeah, that is something that probably exists. It's nothing that I have personally interacted with for Colony yet, or sorry, integrated into Colony yet. But like the other thing about, you know, quote unquote firearms in this case is I want to we have something called a bellow gun, which uses pressurized air from like an organ bellow. And by organ, I don't mean like a, you know, like a keyboard organ. I mean like a biological organ of some harvested creature that is then repurposed into being something that they fill up with air to push air out of it. And so we have this thing called a bellow gun that is a tension-armed bellow piece that will launch projectiles out of it. So yes, the early forms of firearms do exist. It's our response to kind of the blowgun, but with having to work with the anatomy of insects and the fact that they don't have lungs. So,
and also their physical size as well changes how physics messes with them, and also the materials they have to work with. When you're this small, the versatility of elements is much more difficult to use, I guess.
Yeah. Like, if you want scientific accuracy, just go outside. There was Jade has for a month and a half now been laughing at this stupid comment we got that was like, they left it on the scientifically informed fantasy video. They were like, so you didn't actually create anything, you just copied it. And I replied, I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, you just looked at ants.
My favorite guy.
It's so silly. I got into a little bit of a pissing match talk because he was like, Lovecraft was like a totally original guy. I was like, Lovecraft used fish anatomy to like liken the like depictions of Cthulhu. What are you talking about? Like, there's no such at its core. There's no such thing as originality. There's only different ways of expressing the same ideas, and I think that goes not just as far as even just aesthetics. That goes as far back as just myth in general. Mythology in all of its expressions throughout every culture is the same stories. We're telling each other the same ideas over and over and over again through different lenses. I think, you know, Tolkien was another example of that exact sentiment, and in many, many regards, the same thing can be said about the way that George Lucas wrote Star Wars, and especially now contemporarily, like fantasy / sci-fi giants like Brandon Sanderson. You know, they're all writing the same kinds of stories through different lenses in different settings, and they're able to touch on different kinds of emotional notes depending on the way that they establish those settings. So
I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to restart Photoshop real quick, and hopefully that will fix the issue.
And I will swap over to my webcam. Hello, everybody. I will pull up the card so you can see what I've been working on. Oh. All right. Let's see. Or my keyboard. This one? I think it's this one. It's this one. Okay. So in case you missed the Discord hangout sesh that we had on Sunday, which, you know, if you're not a part of the Discord, go join the Discord. I'll shoot another link in there in a minute. We spent basically 12 hours straight just cutting out new cards for our playtest sessions for the game. And these are not artwork cards. These are strictly mechanical cards, so they don't have anything fancy on them. But you can see that we've also sleeved them, so that way each race is represented through a theme. In this case, we have this one is a Fora, and this is actually a Foraline, so an Argentine ant. They have a special set of cards that allow them. It's called Beastmaster is the trait category, and it allows them to interact with non-sentient insects and have them come under their control and be able to use them in battle. We have tons of these. We have 9 tribes represented here. We should have a 10th, but I forgot to print out enough cards to get that 10th. So here we have the Foraline, the Foraigi, who are fire ants. We have the Terra Neva, which is the Nevada dampwood termite. Apoima leaf is this one, from the side it's a little hard to tell, but these are supposed to be gold cards because we're fancy. So the Apoima leaf are what's it called? European honeybees. We have Apoi Osim, which are the blue harvester, or no, blue.
Blueberry bee.
They are a blueberry bee, but there's a particular one that I can't remember. It's
Mason bee.
blue mason bee. That's it. Yeah, blue mason bee. We have the praying mantises, the manta right here, and with the mantises, they are more generalized because when they create their uh, observatories and monasteries, it's a bunch of different species of praying mantises that are all gathered together to create them. So we have the Manta Asavilo, which in the tongue of the Sakuda, it translates to stargazer. We have the Edome, which are the grasshoppers. Again, grasshoppers are more akin to like nomadic individuals, and so you're not really going to see a whole lot of like colonies of grasshoppers because they can turn feral after being around each other for too long, and then they eventually become locusts. We have and let's see, their particular group and traditions, the bardic traditions of the Edom are called the Tenedomon, which, if I remember correctly, means the keepers of the mountains. And then we have the Rogelevon cards right here. It's a little hard to see in the camera, but these are purple. Gelevon means the wind from the west. And then the Het Nivilo, which means void gazer. So these ones are your moths. So butterflies, moths. And then these are just extra sleeves, and these are blank cards because I got a few hundred more cards to go. But we have here 9 tribes. We're going to have a 10th sometime this week, and this week we'll have all of the cards ready to play test. We're just going to be waiting on finalizing some artwork that we need done for the character sheet to be finished, which shouldn't be too much of a thing at all. And then the rule guide. We just got to clean up a few things in the rule guide, and we'll be ready to play test. So hopefully we'll have more news on that soon. But yeah, figured if you guys were wondering about the game, this is the meat and potatoes right here. This is what it's all about, baby.
And we are back, and it seems like just restarted my computer fixed the problem, so we're good to go.
Alrighty, then I will swap back over to you. And here we go. Where did my phone go?
Going through and doing a value pass before I do color, just to make sure everything reads properly. I generally try not to depict the het in bright lights too often. I feel like they tend to be creatures of the night, and so that's when they're going to be most active. So I try to keep it dark as much as I can, but occasionally I'll do something a little bit brighter.
The YouTube stream is still your hands, Isaac.
Is it?
No, I
Shouldn't
see
be.
the art.
You might just be delayed a little bit.
Oh, maybe. I was. It was my fault for being an idiot.
It's all right.
Oops.
Thank you for keeping an eye out. Ah, it's good to be back. It's good to be working on Colony again.
Looks like we have a question over in the Q&A channel.
Oh, let me go check. So the Fora being ants and ants being incredibly strong for their size, is that aspect considered or translated into the setting? Ants are very strong for their size, and there are some aspects about their strength that are reflected in some game mechanics for them. Especially in skill checks, they have better athletic checks. They have more mastery skills within that. As far as like the overall strength of insects in comparison to their size goes, it actually kind of evens out a lot, because like ants are incredibly strong for their size, but it's comparison, right? Like we gotta take into account the idea that other insects, while they may not be able to lift as much as much above their size because of like whatever like ratios you think of, they're still able to lift the same degree of weight as an ant would. It's just that ants are impressive because they are able to leverage their size to be able to lift much larger things. So it is something that is semi-reflected, but it's not necessarily something that's like specific, like that the ants are stronger than any other race.
I will say in their artwork, they do tend to be depicted holding larger weapons than other races, relative to their body size. So, like, a Fora holding a great sword will be like at least twice the length of its body.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a great hammer where it probably weighs as much as itself.
Yeah, in comparison to their bodies, absolutely, and it looks crazy impressive. Some berserk level shit. Oh, excuse me, berserk level stuff. But as far as like if it's going to be more impressive in comparison to other Sakuta, it's not necessarily as impressive. So. This scarf he's got over his face is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now. I do like it. I just feel like it's reading a little bit confusing with how it connects to the body.
Mm-hmm.
I might just need to massage this neck area a little bit.
What do you think it's made out of? Maybe silk or a fiber of some sort?
Yeah, probably some sort of fine fiber.
Okay.
Speaking of silk, we do have another question from Edwin over on YouTube. I think it was from a few minutes ago.
Oh, should weaver ants be great archers? They are silk builders. Are all. Maybe they use the Roman scorpion artillery. That's a great question. So bows do exist. Weaver ants probably could be great archers. We don't have weaver ants in the setting just yet, but that's a fantastic concept to elaborate on. So might just steal that. Thanks, bud. I know that I have come up with concepts for Weaver ants as far as like their culture and aesthetic concepts go. Is that they build their they don't have mountains like other forests do. They have all of their colonies high up in the treetops, and they have like these bulbous balls that are made out of giant like leaves that they've collected and plastered together into almost piñata kind of looking things. And then there's like not silk but like fiber bridges connecting to all of these extraneous balloons that are also suspended in the treetops. I guess something like not aesthetically, but like kind of structurally similar to the Gungan underwater stuff in Phantom Menace. Something along those lines. Aha! I'm new here, so this might already be explained somewhere, but does the RPG board represent a large space like in a war game? Because it looks like that to me. It does. So our game, the official title, as of right now, subject to change, is Song of the Sakuda, the Colony tabletop experience. Because it's not quite a deck building game. It's not quite an RPG. It's not quite a war game. It's all three of these things combined. And so no matter what format you're playing it in, whether you're playing it in like the arena format where you're fighting player to player, whether you're playing in the war game format, which is swarm format, if you're playing there, you're also using a large scale battlefield, or if you're playing it in adventure format, which is the RPG format, you are at all times using a battlefield to represent where your character is and the area of where their effects are hitting. One thing of note is that in the case of ranged weapons, I think that this is an interesting thing that is kind of unique to our game. Ranged weapons, at least as far as fantasy games go, ranged weapons, because of their size, have no range limit within a reason. Because of how small they are, if you can get enough tension behind a shot, it's usually going to reach as far as you would want it to. And so as long as your target is in line of sight on the battlefield, you can usually hit them. So that's kind of an interesting idea. And that applies to most ranged spells, unless otherwise specified. And almost all ranged weapons. What role do spiders play in the world of Colony? Are they intelligent? Are they vicious predators? Are they mounts? Is there silk harvested? Yes. So, spiders, the Auroch, are children of the Amber. They are a monster race that is intelligent, created by the satanic character in their mythology. They were made from... They're called the Children of the Amber because they are a corrupted parallel to the Children of the Sap. So there is an entity, a character within their mythology called the Mother Tree. And she, at the creation of the Sakuda, created a wound in her side and bled out her sap. And out of the sap, which is supposed to be kind of like a parallel to the primordial ooze, out of the sap came the Sakuda folk, the first 5 Sakuda species, and eventually they waged war with each other at some point. Magic was stripped from them. Magic was gifted to the butterflies at the butterflies' creation, and then everybody was exiled, and the mother tree became dormant, and her physical body withered away and perished, while her soul was released to become the structure of the Dreamlands. So the amber, or sorry, the sap that once flowed out of her was then hardened after it no longer flowed out of her, and it became amber, and that is the amber that Zek used. He cracked it open, and out of the fissures of the amber came out the monster races. And among those were the Arak. And so the Arak are an intelligent race that have some mild cultural elements that are more or less shaped by being through mad concepts that came about from them being corrupted by the magic of Zek. And they are vicious predators. They aren't adapted and evolved to the extent that the Sakuda are. And I should also mention that the name of the Children of the Amber, so Sakuda in their language means the Children of the Sap, and the Children of the Amber in their language are called the Ulukuta, which means the Children of the Amber. The Ulukuta, all of them were deceived by Zek at their creation and told that they were the usurpers, that they were the true inheritors of Aoyama, and that they must be usurpers when they are able. And so they are a monstrous race, but they do have individuality. And on the Sunday stream in the Discord server, I made this sentiment about the fact that I kind of took note of one of the regrets that Tolkien expressed with the orcs, that the orcs, while they are representative of what corruption does to somebody, to someone's mind, that they become uncontrollably evil, he actually thinks that is a misrepresentation of how agency works. But the orcs were useful as a tool within his storytelling elements, and so that wasn't something that he could necessarily change to tell the kind of story that he wanted to. But that was a regret that he had in regards to representing the reality of evil. And so I kind of wanted to take that regret and try and approach it from this angle of they've only been deceived of what their true purpose is, and that there are some defectors of the Arak, some of whom are more or less just sick of the idea of being bound to good or bound to evil, and that they are now choosing their own path according to their own desires of how to live their own life. And there are others who are actively defying their own origins, so that way they can become a proponent for good within their lives and within the lives of others. And it's few and far between. And for the most part, most of the ones who are defectors just kind of want to be left alone. And so you may encounter stray Arak in this world who they may, if you encounter them, they will say, either just get out of my place or I'm going to kill you. And if you push it, then they'll hurt you. And other Arak who will tell you, who won't even give you such warnings. They'll see that you're there and they will it's on sight. It's on sight for them. And so
the part of his question was, do the Sakuta harvest silk?
They do. Yes. The Sakuta do harvest silk from various sources. It's great that we're having a moth here on screen, because many moth species produce silk, and so for the covens, a lot of their economic trade does come from being able to trade more silk than other species are able to. So that's one of their big trade factors. And then there are other species like There's some kinds of butterflies that also spin silk, and harvesting auroch silk is a very dangerous thing. But there's some brave Sakuda who try and do it, and maybe that's an encounter that or an adventure that could be written into the RPG at some point.
Do you want to address how silk can be used by the Sakuta for magical purposes?
Oh, sure. Well, especially for the het, it is one of their alchemical materials, and one of the ways in which silk, it's a very unique way in which silk can be used, is in enchanting weaponry, which is not something that happens very often because it requires pacts between auroch and other Sakuda, and the auroch will create a rune within the web, and they kind of suspend that between these tines that are made up of twigs and other wooden materials, and they put it into what's called an enchanting loom, and then the weapon in question that is to be enchanted is dipped into this this enchanted web, and it kind of snaps and wraps around the weapon, and then the silk is ceremoniously burned off, and the power, the spell, the enchantment is left behind, etched into the blade or whatever it is. And you don't come across those kinds of weapons very often because it requires an auroch to be willing to do that for a Sakuda, and those are few and far between.
Those are like mythological weapons. Like,
Yeah.
if they exist, they are probably named, and people will kill for them.
Yep. I know I took a long time, so Sebastian on the YouTube channel asked, so it's always large scale. It's not necessarily always large scale. The war game skirmishes will certainly always be large scale. I suppose as long as you have a battlefield to accommodate for it. Arena format may be a much smaller scale battle, and an RPG, the adventure format, depends on where you are. It depends on what the setting is that you're fighting in. So it's not always going to be large scale, but there are opportunities to have larger scale battles, and whereas swarm commander mode in swarm format, you would be commanding large swaths of armies. Someone gave an idea to me this year about a full male ant elite warrior based on the Greek elite troops, the Sacred Band, which is an interesting idea since most ant casts are female. Yes, and that's also something that we try and represent, that for the most part, most eusocial insect casts are female. The Terra is a notable exception because they do have sterile males that integrate into the rest of society. That's, as far as I can tell, that is an accurate representation of how termites they actually work. So that's something interesting that I thought would be a cool dichotomy to integrate into lore, which I have, and I can get into that later. But an elite ant warrior troop is absolutely something that could occur in Colony. So if you want to write a campaign surrounding that concept, once we have the RPG out, by all means, go for it. Would love to see something like that.
The scarf and like the lacing you have has me gagged, dude. That is beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. I always really try to get creative with their clothing and the solutions they would find for how to attach it to themselves.
I hate to be that guy. I do need to use the restroom. So I will be back momentarily, but y'all have fun. Y'all have fun talking amongst yourselves for right now,
How dare you have human needs?
right? I hate having bodily functions. All right, I'll be right back.
I can't see the chat, but if anyone has any questions, I'm sure one of the other team members could feed those to me while I work.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on things.
You can't see it, but I do have another window open with some art references. So these patterns I'm designing are based on a real moth species.
Now, out of curiosity, is this
Yep.
meant to be a companion piece to Flowering Spell?
The thought crossed my mind, and it's definitely something that could be done. Because this is a very similar magic spell that they are absorbing.
Mhm.
It's entirely a possibility.
You know how people sometimes they'll like get wine and oil paints and a canvas and watch Bob Ross and do like an imitation painting and try and follow along. That's how I feel right now, but I'm sober. And like, what is I'm like, what is he doing? I'm obsessed with that scarf. Now I'm trying to think of like moth fashion. Love it.
And the very early concepts at Colony, most of the Sakuda were just buck-ass naked the entire time. And like, to be fair, they don't really need clothing, but I would say in our more recent work, we've definitely been pushing to have them express their style a little bit more with what they attach to their bodies. Um,
Caleb
the
says
the
bug ass naked, by the way.
what's that?
Caleb, he said bug ass naked instead of bug ass naked.
Oh yeah, it's bug-ass naked. Uh, yeah, and I think Braidcraft is a more recent example of us actually trying to integrate clothing with culture. Uh, quick rundown. I think Isaac could probably explain this better than me. But Braidcraft is a het form of magic where they weave items and alchemical ingredients into their fur. And so it can provide different wards and protections, or it can be used to like manipulate plants to entangle weapons. It's just a very distinct style of het magic among their myriad forms of magic. And it incorporates, style to some degree, weaving their hair into patterns. So it's just a good excuse to make the world more visually interesting and, functional. You notice I have a habit of zooming out really far. It's just a good thing to do often so you can make sure that the composition is reading well. Say right now, I might start splashing some color in just to see how it looks. Let's get some background color in here. Heads have very earthy colors in their palette. Lots of browns and oranges and reds.
Walking Side Quest Detector asks, any pieces of concept art that ended up on the cutting room floor that you were personally quite fond of, Griff?
I wouldn't say there was a specific piece of concepts. I know initially Het Magic, not Het Magic, Row Magic had the full spectrum of colors. So it was like a nice rainbow effect of each class of Row Magic being assigned to a different color. So if I remember correctly, like warding effects tended to be green, pink and purple were more aggressive, damaging spells. And like it's kind of a cool system, and we had individual flowers and flower shapes assigned to each color as well. And so it was like very expressive, very interesting visually. I think as the project went on and we wanted to kind of, um, to some extent, homogenize the look between each race, or within each race, we decided to have the head's magic be limited to blues, purples, and pinks. And so that old system was kind of just scrapped and left on the cutting room floor. I don't disagree with that, but I did really enjoy the visuals of the old system. So not a specific piece, but more of an idea of the world that just kind of got left behind. But yeah, thank you for the question. That's a good one. I think if there's any others, I feel like there would be more, but in a lot of ways, the art and the world building have gone hand in hand. So it's a two-way influence where, like, I might design something that's interesting, and Isaac will say, "Oh, that's cool. We'll put that in the world," and come up with an explanation for it. And then at the same time, Isaac will come up with cool ideas, and I'll be like, "Oh, I have a really good idea of like how to visualize that." And a lot of art has been made with us both in the same room together talking. So there's not a whole lot of miscommunication or ideas that aren't like cleared by both of us before it goes to the final design. And just in general, Colony is one of those worlds where you can kind of just go crazy. It has a distinct style for sure, but it's also very open in the sense that you can be expressive. And there's not a lot that I would say could be considered like strange enough to not be considered canon. When you're making your bug sonas or whatever you want to call it, go crazy. You have my blessing.
No, I don't want to call it a bug sona. I literally paused working as you said that. I went, oh, man. Brother, ooh, no.
See, I gotta say it first so it's cringe. They don't adopt it.
Yeah.
Because if they think they invented it, they'll think they're the rebels.
Then it's cool. No, it's she's a fluffy moth, but she's not a furry. I'm just gonna avoid using the word furry and it'll be fine.
I think the term Isaac and I came up with was, what was it, crawlies? That would be our equivalent.
And I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Just in the nick of time. I was running out of things to say.
Don't worry, your resident yapper's back in town.
We had a question about the art, and I talked about our old magic system with the het and how we used all the different colors, and each color was assigned to a flower and shape. And I was just saying, like, I kind of missed that, but I think our new system is better and more visually cohesive.
Yeah, it's a much better expression of what I was trying to go for in the world too. Let's see, we got a question. Did you guys already address do you try to create all of the products for Aoyama yourself, or do you have collaborations? Did you guys already answer that?
No, we haven't.
That's new.
Okay. We do try and do as much as we can internally, but Hex Studios as a project was really like me wanting to just bring artists together to create new things and get fresh takes and not necessarily limit the imagination or the interpretation of those artists into this. We certainly have a canon depiction of how all of these things look, but I never try and impose that on anybody that we work with. If they want to do that, that's their thing. For instance, we have one of the lore shorts, the bright pink and yellow one, is made by a friend of mine named Fweth, who lives in England, and she's an exceptionally spectacular artist, very, very distinct visual style. And a couple years back, we were just talking about stuff, and she was like, "I want you to tell me more about Colony." And so I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I read to her the Song of Aoyama, and she was like, "I want to make some artwork for this." And I was like, "Absolutely." So I paid her a little bit of money, whatever she was charging at the time to make an art piece as a commission, and she was happy to make it, and that's how we got that piece. And that's very much the way that I like to collaborate with Colony and any creative project. Is I want to express what I have out into the world in for them, and then for them to just interpret it the way that they want to. So yes, we do absolutely have collaborations. I love being able to collaborate with other artists. In fact, that's one of the things that I eventually would like to do for some of the card art later on in as the RPG goes along. Is I've had this idea of, since there is static mechanics and there's nothing that's particularly like special about any of the mechanics that you wouldn't get in any other set. One of the ways that I kind of wanted to create more of a value added way of having newer versions of the same card mechanics was to bring on collaborators to do guest art for the artwork, and have like booster packs or full sets where you could get those collaborations. So it's not necessarily that you're paying to win for any of the cards that you're getting. They're just newer expressions and representations of the same card mechanics through a different artist's lens. So, yeah.
So sort of like how comics will have variant covers from guest artists.
Absolutely, yeah.
Over on YouTube, Edwin was asking about antlions.
Antlions, yes. Antlions are Ulukuta, children of Amber. I have a profile somewhere that talks about antlions. Let me go see if I can pull that up real quick. 1 second. Yes, here it is. This is an excerpt out of the one of the earlier profiles for the fora. So this may have some no longer canon content, so bear with me, but this does talk about antlions. They're called the mele. One of the most beloved traditions of the fora is the mele hunt. They hold once per month. The fora happen to be the mele's preferred prey, and as such the mele will often entrench their lairs nearby foric colonies. In retaliation, the fora bring the fight to them and hunt them as sport. Those who find themselves victorious will often wear the chitin of their slain foes as armor. For many foric hunters, this is one of the highest honors to hold. As a continuation, some bonus lore. These hunts, however, pale in comparison to the annual Gek hunt, held the week before the day held the week before the last day of the year. It often takes a massive hunting party to bring down just one of these beasts, and all of their combined strength to haul the prize back to the colony to feast upon it. To whomever brought the finishing blow to the beast, they are given the first pick of the beast's horns, bones, teeth, or claws as their trophy. Then the pick of the rest of the hunting party, then the rest is given to the military to craft their weapons with. The Gek's skull is then mounted to the Queen's chamber. The hunt and feast, however, is not the only way in which the Fora celebrate. But I'm gonna keep the rest of those celebrations a little on the DL until later. Gek are lizards, for those of you who are curious. So yes, there are effectively dragon hunting parties of Fora.
I have a question about game mechanics.
Yes.
And as a dev, that might sound silly, but I'm not particularly actively involved with the game development process, so bear with me. Is mounting larger like species like Colo, is that represented in game mechanics?
It is.
I know that's a specialty of the Fora Lin.
Yes, the Fora Lin. I'll pull up one of the cards, the Beastmaster cards. That way I can read you some of the mechanics directly from the game. All right. Wild Steed. This is a Beastmaster tactic. You may mount and ride any allied wild beast as a steed. While mounted on a steed, the steed may perform one action on your turn at no cost. On your steed's turn, you may draw one card from your deck and play one card from your hand. So yeah, absolutely, you can ride. The lean will be able to ride them as steeds. Some of the other things that you can do with the Beastmaster traits. When engaged, this is Tame Beast. When engaged with a wild beast, you may roll a coercion check against its grit. If you succeed, the wild beast will be dissuaded from attacking you and will become an ally. If you fail, the wild beast may play one attack against you from their hand for free. So, yeah. Lots and lots of cool ways to interact with wildlife if you're a lean. Are there 1,000 Geks? This feels like a Jade question, and I don't know why.
I don't like... No. No. Don't put that on me. Come on, man. I'm just over here drawing a moth. I don't deserve that.
How is your moth coming along?
Fluffy.
Fluffy.
Right now, I'm brainstorming all the cool apocalyptic desert moth fashion that I'm seeing Matt pull out here. I'm like, ooh, I'm trying to think of clothes.
Gotcha. It's starting to get hot in my bedroom. I'm gonna close my blinds. Sun's coming right in through them.
When I was restarting my computer, I preemptively lowered the AC by like 5 degrees, knowing my computer would get hot.
I wish the house I lived in had AC. We all have individual AC units in our bedrooms, and mine's very loud, so that's why I don't have it on right now. How do the card mechanics apply to regiments of troop formations? It's a great question. So, these particular cards are for champions. They are for individual players, player characters. Swarm commanders have their own types of cards that are more genericized, and they have most of the same kinds of abilities that you would be able to use, but most of the way that you would perform formations is by just moving them into those formations on their turn in the war game. There are other kinds of ways that you can also get them into specific formations, namely using Momoku, or in the case of Fora factions, they have a special trait called clusters that give them different shapes that provide them different kinds of bolstering, different kinds of boons and boosts. Gekemon. Dang it.
Yeah, can hits capture Sora in the hollow and then like keep it in their pockets for later?
No. Absolutely not. I'm nixing that one right now. You cannot do that.
I was gonna say they just throw them in their mothballs.
This is another good question. In terms of larger scale gameplay, does terrain or battlefield conditions have rules that, and will that be physically represented? So, as far as physical representation, I mean it's war game terrain. You know, you're gonna do that yourself. We don't have resources to make terrain products right now. As much fun and as much as I would love to be able to do that, not within our scale at current moment. So I would recommend just crafting your own battlefield conditions. As far as mechanics for it goes, absolutely, we have mechanics for difficult terrain, for climbing, for flying. Yes, we've already kind of cycled through a lot of this stuff. So yeah, don't worry. There's already material there for you to work with mechanically. Physically represented, that's a DIY problem, bud.
You're playing as bugs. Just go outside and get some sticks and rocks. And just
Exactly. Just get a boulder and throw it on the table. Pray your table isn't glass.
Well, to represent a boulder at insect scale, you would just need like a mid-sized rock.
Yeah,
Well,
don't forget you're playing as a very small creature and also up his relative. So if you want, you can design a battlefield that's the underside of a leaf. And when people die, they just fly into the air.
Mm-hmm. The first playtests that we were doing of this were very interesting because I was just using a hex grid playmat, and the people were like, "So, like, what's the scale of this?" And I was like, "You're looking at it." What about colored nets to represent terrain effects for tabletop? This way you could overlay it out on a printed out map. I am not exactly sure what you're trying to say.
I think like he's saying use a net as the grid, and then like you throw it over top of whatever set you build.
Yo,
and then
that's
use the holes in the net as like the terrain markers.
sheesh. That's a cool idea. I didn't think about that. If you could find a hexagonal net, do that. So for reference, just so everybody knows, this game is meant to be played on a hex grid. Each hex, and a 1 inch hex grid, I should say, since it's standard. Each hex is supposed to be what's it called? It's called a cell, as in honey cells. And yeah, no, that is a very cool idea. Caleb just said chicken wire. Great idea, actually. But yeah, that's honestly not a bad idea. Yeah, if you can get a hold of a net and you just want to throw it over some outside terrain, literally just throw it over like a boulder outside. There you go. That's your play battle scene. I'm an idea man. It's my speciality. I feel that, brother. I can only go so far on just ideas, though. I have to start writing things down, and then all of a sudden I have a cult of people around me making bug art. And I like the way that like the spell almost has like this press out from the center of the void tear where it reminds me of Stargate, the way that when the swirl in the gate like ricochets back through the backside of it.
Yeah. It's almost like the hollow is having to eat the bolt.
Yeah.
It's like almost converted into fungus as it passes through.
Exactly. Love it. Very, very good. Like there's momentum and like kinetic stuff still occurring through it. It's great. Are there rules for underwater combat? No. Absolutely not. In fact, in the Colony Q&A channel on Discord, on our Discord channel, we have a we got that question of whether there was going to be like a arthropod, like an underwater crustacean expansion, and we had ideas for it, and I'm not going to go into it here because I've already written it all out previously, but for swimming spiders are not going to be a playable race. They're going to be a monster, and I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with underwater combat.
We here at Next Videos hate crabs.
Sure fucking do. Oh, sorry.
Hey, swears.
Swear.
You're the one who set the parameters.
I will put $1 in the swear jar. My bad. Of everyone here, I do have the biggest sailor mouth. That is for sure.
Potty mouth.
Mm-hmm. I established those rules of no swearing more for myself than anybody else. I want to try and at least be semi-professional, you know. Water bug beasts. We do have pond skimmers. And water bugs do exist, but they're more like monsters where they will drag you under and you're gonna get torn to shreds. There's very little you're gonna be able to do against like swimming spiders and water bugs and stuff like that. So as far as pond skimmers go, though, like you can still like if you're for a lean, you can tame a pond skimmer and then you can like use it to traverse a larger body of water. You really don't want to be traversing deep water for too long in this game. You will either lose your surface tension and drown, or you will get eaten by something else. I'm making you put on and take off your iron boots with the pause menu. No Zelda. No Zelda stuff here. Calum just asked mealworm mukbang when, Isaac. Never. That is not going to happen. The idea of a mukbang in general just disgusts me, so no thank you.
Would you do it to get Colony fully funded?
Asking real questions like that Man. Depends on how they were seasoned, but maybe. Show me the money first. Then I'll seriously give it some consideration. Be sure to let the YouTube audience know they can see the unhinged, unanswered questions in the Discord. Yes, if you would like to pop your head in here and just hang out with the community, please do. Let me get you guys another link. One moment. There you go. Come on in, join the community, come hang out. It's a lot more active than the last time we had a server up. For those of you who you may or may not know, our last Discord got hacked because my account got hacked. It was kind of tragic, but it wasn't nearly as active as this iteration of the server. So there's never been a better time to be a Colony fan. There's a much larger community at play here now. So come on in and hang out.
I really thought you were going to use the colonist bit. You didn't.
The Colony fandom is plateauing. Retweet if you're a true colonizer. Oh, poor Dusk. I wish Nash could join in.
Mm-hmm.
It's alright. He can hop in on the next one. Nash is our legal guy, and we love him. He's also
Mr. Business.
He is Mr. Business. And him and I. He's also an incredible musician, and he lives in Canada, and I go up there when I can to go jam with him and record stuff. It's great. I love hanging out with Nash. And he also happens to have business degrees that are very useful for us.
I'm really liking this purple and yellow-orange combination. So
That is
it's
good.
definitely different from other het pieces I've done.
No water means no bug pirates. Bug pirates were going to be one of the expansions. They were one of the aspects of the underwater expansion, the crustacean expansion that I abandoned. So, yeah, sorry, no bug pirates. Not in this setting.
I mean, in the role-playing game, you could always have a background of a pirate. Be like, yeah, I did the water stuff, but just have no water around, so you can't actually do the water stuff.
Yeah.
Useless land pirate.
Land pirate.
Isn't that just a cowboy? Or or a bandit, I guess. But
I think you're thinking of banditos. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, while we have people here, here's a question for the audience. We want to branch out with some of the physical products, things that you could probably get produced on demand. What kinds of other products would you all be interested in seeing? Would you all like posters? T-shirts?
It's a great question.
Speaking for myself, I would love to have a set of dice that are the correct shape for the different marrow traits. So,
Oh.
like a D6
Mhm.
that's red, a D4 that's blue. Uh, I would kill for a set of those.
You see, that would be fantastic if, and I would 100% say yes to that if it weren't for the fact that our entire system is D6.
I know, but still, it's like that tickles the part of my brain that's like dice candy.
Yeah. Man. I do love good dice. One of the products that I want to get for good dice is I don't know if any of you are familiar with Polyhero dice. I mean, you probably are because I'm obsessed with them and I won't shut up about them. But they're they're dice that are shaped as objects themed around D&D classes. So you get like a wizard set that has like a D20 that's a wizard's hat, and like the 2D10s are potion bottles, stuff like that. I want to do something like that for colony sets of dice. But they'd be more like themed after. They'd all be the same shape within their sets. You just get different colors that are different shapes. Or you could get a set that has a bunch of different shapes and different colors. It's just a grab bag or like a full set, whatever you want to say. But yeah, I have considered doing specialty dice like that. It's just that takes a lot of modeling time, and that's a lot of production. That is, I don't know the first thing about producing dice at that scale of production, so that's going to be a down the line thing, I think.
That is probably something that we would need an actual production partner to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, printed bug figurines. Yes, I know. I'm working on it. I have the window open right now, actually.
So that is one thing. If you guys want to have some inside information about people we're working with, I am currently one of the collaborations that I'm trying to do is with Andrew at Titancraft Minis. I know him personally. I used to live like 15 minutes away from him when I lived in Arizona, and I grew up knowing him through social circles, and we've talked a lot at length about creating custom mini assets to use in the Titancraft engine. We're working on it. It's a process, but yeah, you'll be able to have fully customizable minis eventually. Soon, trademark.
I don't know about soon. It's gonna be a while, but
But
um,
it's on the docket.
yep. Over on the YouTube, we have a request for a Ant Warrior plushie and one for posters.
A while back, I was doing a bit about doing customizable plushies through Build-A-Bear, and it would be Build-A-Bug. Uh,
Isaac, don't, because I would buy every single one. I love stuffies. Don't do this to me.
well, looks like we got a winner there, chat. All right.
Oh, my wallet.
But I'd love to be able to do it so that way. I'd love to do it through Build-A-Bear because I like how customizable they are with all their accessories. So you could have different kinds of weapons and armor pieces that you could have on them. So yeah. I myself am a sucker for customizable anything. I love modularity. So any kind of product that we release that has an opportunity to create modularity through it, I want to do. As long as it makes sense for the kind of product that it is. So a stuffy that we can have with a dress up function, yeah, absolutely. Silk clothes because you're swimming in money. Yeah, I'm totally swimming in money. Cries at my bank account. I, I was lamenting the fact that I purchased 9 sets of card sleeves yesterday for Colony. I don't have money.
I just said I will never financially recover from this.
For real. What in the interdimensional laser ray is this? You are seeing an anti. You are seeing an anti spell, a counter spell, from a het. The this moth is absorbing a butterfly's spell. He's saying, "Nuh-uh."
Mirror, would we be able to get a Patreon link into the chat?
Yeah. You know what? Why not? Let's beg for money. I'm down.
Hey,
Well,
heck yeah.
no. Someone in there was saying, like, hey, if you do plushies, I'll financially support the project. So,
Yeah, I got you. Here. Uh,
You're like got so far. Just looked over at how much you've got done, and I'm still just doing layers of fur, like do 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 do. Wow, that's gorgeous. What the heck? It's like a reward every time I take a break. I just look over. God, that's so cool, Matt. You're so cool.
Matt is cool.
mm-hmm.
When I was at the FedEx office getting all of the pages printed, the guy was asking me, he was like, "What's this for?" And I showed him the website and some of the artwork, and he's like, "This is insane. My son would love this." And he was like, "Who does your art?" And I was like, "Oh, this guy who kind of does semi-official Halo artwork." And he's like, "What?"
Hey, I got range, okay?
Yeah. It always tickles me whenever you tell me about the guys over at the Sentinel project making references to Colony, and I'm just like, hee.
It's that was one of the things that the lead of Sentinel really liked was the Sorsal glyphs. That was like the one thing that he really kind of latched onto and was like, oh, this guy, he has ideas, he thinks about things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I think
partially
it's
credit that for them bringing me on.
I can definitely say that, like, our team really thinks about things differently.
Oh yeah.
We're a very strange lot, much to our advantage. What's a het card? Great question. So this is going to be artwork used for a playing card within our RPG game that we're making. Oh, tribal card sleeves? Yes, absolutely we'll be doing that, Jack. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. I don't know where we're gonna, like, who we can get to produce those, but I don't think that's gonna be too hard. That's gotta be something that a lot of people do.
I would say, do they make sleeves in tarot size?
Oh yeah. Absolutely
Oh,
they
perfect.
do. A bunch of the game shops in Tucson and some of the ones up here I've seen carry tarot size cards. I guess that's another thing. The size of our cards is going to be a little bit different for other, not trading card games, because we're not a trading card game, but for other deck building games. Ours is a little less standard because we're using tarot size to showcase more of the artwork. I feel like the cards especially are important for us as a way of expressing expressing like the visualization of what's occurring in the world. So the more of that artwork that you're able to see, and the more of that of that that is represented to you at like just there at the get go of the experience, the more immersed into the world that you can become. So that's part of the reason why we made that decision. Oh, Edwin asked, wait, is this a pre-recorded Artcraft video, or is he really making it live at that speed? This is live, bud. This is like
This is live.
this is the rate at which Matt works. He's goaded with it. I remember somebody was asking me, it was a couple of years ago, they were like, how do you have so much artwork in such a short amount of time? I was like, it's because my artists are insane. They're crazy.
I mean, Colony as a world just lends itself to just very free expression with art and just kind of letting yourself go and seeing what happens.
Mm.
It has that quality to it.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I love collaborating within the world is that it's just like everybody sees it just a tad bit differently. So everybody brings something fresh and new to the table, and sometimes it's even like world building concepts through the artwork that I'm able to integrate further into the cultures and into just the history and mythology of the world. I'm able to like make more links to it all. This is part of the reason I love artistic collaborations, why I keep doing it. Jade and I cook when we work. It's crazy. We had a 4-hour car ride where we just went off on some world building concepts. Not for Colony, for other stuff, but it's awesome. A king can't rule without good retainers supporting him. Go Colony team. I agree. I don't know if I necessarily call myself a king, but like, I for sure would not be able to do this without the talent and support of everybody on the team. I am unfathomably grateful. Every success, every achievement in Colony is inseparable to me from my friends and my collaborators.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I said this Sunday, I'll say it again. Holly's the reason we're so far ahead on game development right now. She kicked ass.
Another swear.
Oh, another in the swear jar.
That one was permitted though, because she did indeed do that.
Mm-hmm. Sincerely would not be doing even this today if it weren't for Holly just picking up the work when I was just completely depressed from all of the life garbage that's been going on lately.
I was saying the other day, I don't feel like I can relax yet. Like, there's still a long way to go, but I'm glad that we're here.
Yeah. Here is a great place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, we're not quite at a stage where we can relax, but we're sure at a stage where, at the very least, we're having fun again.
Mm-hmm.
Been here the entire time, but I think this pouch has to go.
Oof.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a shame.
other than that, I'm going to scale it down, but it's making it a little bit hard to read that there's supposed to be a limb there.
Okay, gotcha. When can we play the card game RPG war game? Well, we are currently doing some. We're going to be doing some public rounds of playtesting locally where I am, and some private rounds everywhere else where our Colony team is, amongst our D&D groups and such. I'm hopefully going to be able to do. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm near Portland. And I will hopefully be able to have a public playtest that I'm going to be taking around to local game shops soon. So once we have some more outsider input on how the game's playing, on what they feel like could be improved upon, we're gonna do a little bit more refinement, probably one or two more rounds of play testing, and then I want to release a version of the game that will be printable, that you can they will be files that you can take to like a FedEx office or something like that, any local printer, and it'll just be black and white, strictly mechanical, very very similar to what I showed off earlier in the stream. And I want it so that way you guys will be able to do some play testing of your own at home with your groups, and we're gonna have some surveys so that way you can give your input, and that will probably be sometime next year, so not too terribly soon, but we're gonna try and pick up the pace on getting it out to you guys. We are majoritively, as far as like protecting our work, the artwork is something that we can patent, but game mechanics themselves are not. Uh, you can't copyright numbers, and me personally, my own personal beliefs about copyright, especially in game design, I believe in open sourceness. I believe that public availability and accessibility to these kinds of things are more important than me making money off of it. Um, as far as like patenting things like this, like the we are going to be protected by certain kinds of licensing laws that already exist. If anybody tries to sue us, we have proof of our development of it. Any kind of legal issues that we may have, we're backed up. This kind of us talking about this on stream is also like it can be used as evidence for those kinds of things. So I'm not particularly worried about patenting things, and not that even we could. The only kinds of game design that you are legally allowed to patent are in video game design, which is a shame, and it's something that I frequently lament at any opportunity, because things like the Nemesis system from the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and stuff like that, all of that is like copyrighted, and it makes it so that way those kinds of systems aren't permitted to be created by other companies. And I think that, personally speaking, I think that that's wrong. I think that that inhibits creativity and stifles artistic expression of these kinds of things. I'm actually completely fine if somebody comes along with their own setting and with similar mechanics, and like borrows concepts that we have and elaborates on them in different ways that we didn't think of. That's part of the journey. I'm happy to be a part of that process for somebody else having that inspiration from us to make something even grander. That to me is a part of what life is about.
I think just beyond being pro-consumer, we're also trying to be very pro-creator.
Absolutely.
I think that comes to our philosophy as well, how we handle the release of our game, and yeah, it's just everything top to bottom.
It, on our website, the you see when it talks about our about section, creativity first and creators first. That is our That is our thing. We want to be pro art. That is why we are so against AI art. Is that is the antithesis of what art is. It's not even art. It is it's generative images, generative creation that doesn't use creativity as a backbone. It steals and harms the people who are creating these things. How are there so many hero shooters then? Whoever holds copyrights for whoever designed the first hero shooters, they're not exercising their rights to stifle that creativity. I suppose that's the best way that could be expressed. Which, you know, if you do own code, if you do have code copyrighted, and you own the copyrights to that, and you actively choose not to pursue legal action against people iterating upon your ideas, that's probably the best way to practice that through in a business sense, especially in video games. Protecting your work, yes, absolutely, especially since video game code, video game design features can be copyrighted. Making sure that you protect yourself against that is important, but again, you know, if you're not exercising that to stifle the creativity of others, and you allow others to use those mechanics and elaborate upon them, that to me is the moral way to go about that, using the social systems in place. But as far as tabletop game mechanics go, you can't really do that. I would love a hack and slash video game in this world. So would I. In fact, there's been a lot of sentiment of wanting to make a Souls-like game set in the world of Colony.
I'm trying to plant the seeds now that, you know, if the Sentinel team ever finishes our product and we get it out there, you know, we should do a Colony game after that.
I'm so down. I'm so down to collab. They all seem really cool over there too, from all the conversations you've told me about.
Yeah, they're really good guys.
Bullet Heaven World of Colony game, Vampire Survivors but bugs, man. Just
Dang.
pumping out the concepts, yeah. Giant spider equals Souls game. That, I mean, you're not wrong. Every Souls game has to have some kind of a giant spider as a boss or an enemy. If it doesn't, it's just disappointing. What's the name of the spider lady in... I think it's in the first Dark Souls?
Oh, you mean mommy?
Quaylog? Is that her name? I can't remember. Been a hot minute.
Spray bottle again, Jade.
What did you just say? The spray bottle?
I said, don't make me get the spray bottle again.
Haven't you taken enough from me? Matt.
You've taken the thick goth witch from her. Now you're taking everything else.
Yeah, nothing. Hey, Matt, let me get a bug OC with nothing. Nothing?
Nothing? Oh, Caleb's asking a great question. Isaac, you have in the past criticized Hasbro for their practices with their board games. Which lessons have you taken from their poor example in the development of Colony? Excellent question. I will take every opportunity to criticize what Hasbro's done. I mean, first and foremost, like, you get, like, the Pinkertons. What? Anytime that you feel the need to incite potential threats of violence against somebody when you're a board game company, you should not exist as an entity. That is absurd and just completely insane behavior for a corporation to threaten with physical violence like that. How
What's
dare
insult to
they?
injury is that wasn't even a good set.
Yeah, yeah. It was just such an absurd occasion. So, like, first and foremost, of course we would never do anything like that. We actually, I hold on, I'll pull up the tweet that I made about that, because I occasionally have good tweets. Let's see.
Yeah, until banned from Twitter.
Until I got, well, that was my personal account, and it makes sense why it happened. I get it. Let's see. Where was that?
That was very much a case of this tweet does not represent the views of the hexahedron group.
That's a me thing. We here at Hex Studios solemnly promise that we will never send hired thugs of any sort to terrorize you and your spouse in your own home. We'll come do it ourselves because we aren't cowards.
It's me. I'll go. Send me. Let's go.
We're not doing it. I'm sorry, darling. As for other practices, I think that Hasbro overstepped a lot of boundaries in terms of the OGL, which I think is something that at length has been discussed far enough that I don't need to tread any more ground on that. That was absolutely a horrendous thing for them to do to their community, especially the people who actively use D&D as a way of creating income for themselves, like professional DMs, campaign creators, like just all sorts of things. They were actively threatening the livelihood of people who, for decades now, have been blessed by the original intent of the OGL for what it was, and they were being, taken advantage of by a greedy corporation that has already has enough money. Let's be real. Hasbro has enough money to make a movie about D&D. Why do they need any more? It's absurd. So that's a huge thing, is that, like, I want to foster better community expectations through Hexahedron Studio as far as the way in which we respect other creators, not just even the ones that collaborate with us, but the ones who are inspired by our work. And that's part of the reason why I'm not worried about having, quote unquote, our game stolen. It's because I don't think that it, one, legally speaking, it can't be copyrighted, it can't be technically stolen. But more than that, I want to have it so that way they're able to use us as inspiration just as much as I have been inspired by other creators. I think, as far as everything else, I think Hasbro also is just, as far as their product lines that are expressed through, especially Magic the Gathering, is that they are turning Magic the Gathering into Fortnite, which,
Yes.
That's their bag. I don't care. It's Magic. I don't like Magic a whole lot. I think that it's too expensive of a scene, and it's very predatory to the players that are already too entrenched in it. And it's very difficult for new players to get into it, and that is everything I don't want Colony to be. So I hope that adequately expresses my distaste for Hasbro. Thank you for asking, Calum. We have a couple more questions. What about a survival game for Colony? Absolutely. I think that any genre of game can be translated in some way into Colony. It's just about resources. Personally, I'd love to see a Colony video game that is very reminiscent to a Legend of Zelda game. I would too. Zelda's probably my, if not my top favorite game franchise. It's definitely in my top 3. And I'm very frustrated that it is a Nintendo product. Because of many of the same problems that I have with Hasbro apply to Nintendo. in terms of their allowance of using IP. So, yeah. How much do we need to pay to have the literal devs of Colony show up at our front door? I don't know. I don't know what plane tickets cost these days, but also I don't know if I'm necessarily up for going and visiting our fans at their front door. Oh yes, so I'll read what Jeanjo put in our VC to text chat over here on the Discord server. Yesterday he or they, I don't know what Jeanjo is. But they posted a list of like all of these worlds that are interconnected within their own fictional universe that they're writing, and Yugothex was one that was suspiciously close to Colony, and they created some additional exposition for it. My description of Yugothex with a single sentence didn't give off much of an impression that it was very distinct, but with how all my worlds work, it's going to be inherently different once I work out more. I like making my own stuff unique anyway, so that's, you know, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're interested, because, like, you know, I don't think that Fantasy Bugs is anything unique. I think that the way that we're doing it is what makes Colony so evocative and so unique to itself. And so I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that you're gonna make a very distinct setting, even with similar content. I'm always happy to hear that. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be inspired by you, in as much as you are also inspired by us. Bennett over on the YouTube channel said, in relation to how much to have the literal devs of Colony show up at your door, Bennett said, "Be careful what you wish for, lest you get it. We're insufferable as hell." Accurate.
True, bestie.
Sebastian asked, Nintendo be like, what, you donated to hospitals to get this game to a popular event? Not on our watch. God. I forgot they did that. Man. Yeah, that was something to do with Smash Brothers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Again, I want Hex to be everything that all of these companies are not. It's frustrating that I like D&D. I like a lot of the parts of the setting of D&D, and that I hate the company that makes it, and I don't want to support them. I feel much the same way about Nintendo, that as much as I really, really love the games they make because they're compelling and polished in a very good way, it's hard to justify supporting them anymore with the way that they are so anti-consumer, and especially against their own fan base. It's very, very frustrating. Anyway, there's my anti-capitalist rant. Do with that what you will.
I mean, kind of an update on what I'm working on. At this point, I think I have most of the coloration figured out. I'm kind of just tweaking positioning of things here and there, just so it reads better.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now the position of the head with this scarf feels a little strange. I'm not sure what to do about it though, so I'm still kind of thinking about it while I polish everything else up.
All right.
The consequence of me working fast means I sometimes get ahead of myself, and I will fully color a piece and determine that I don't like how the initial sketch was.
It's been a couple hours now. Let's get a welfare roll call going. We'll go down the line. Matt, how are you feeling right now?
I'm good.
All right.
And,
Holly?
yeah, doing good.
Doing all right.
All right. I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Jade?
Fine.
Yeah?
But yeah,
Okay.
I just finished the bulk of it, and now I actually have to go in and add all the details that cover up the fur that I just spent hours on. It's fine. I'm fine.
It's gonna come out amazing. All your stuff does.
Also, I meant to say way earlier when people were asking, I want all of the colony posters. I want them all. I love posters. I love other people's art in my room.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just let me know. I'll come down and I'll bring a bunch of posters with me.
Bet.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've wanted that I do not have the space for, and I have roommates. I share a house, so it's not really my call to do this, but I would love to have a giant piece of wall art with that with the row piece with the flowering spell. Piece is just dynamic and in your face, and it's so emblematic of what colony is. I want that on like a 12-foot canvas on my wall.
Someday.
Someday. Eventually.
You're gonna have to upscale it or something.
Edwin over on the YouTube channel said, "You're the kind that finishes his 3-day art project in his first art class."
Yes, my fellow art students might have hated me in school.
Crazy. Wouldn't know anything about that, Matt.
Definitely was not any nepotism between me and the teacher. I did not get any extra after-hours lessons.
I remember we were in pretty heavy art development at the time too when you were doing art school, and I remember the 3D art stuff that we were kind of collaborating for your class for Colony was really interesting, and I'd love to bring that back. I know we talked about that like a month or two ago, that I'd love to like see if we could resurrect that project again.
Oh yeah, that's one where like if I took a month, I could probably knock it out, but it'd just be so much work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part, is that there are a lot of things that we want to do, but we also have a lot of cards that still need art.
Mm-hmm.
On
The
top of
numbers are
work
not in
full-time
our
job.
favor.
Yeah,
Work a full-time
exactly.
job and work on other projects as well.
Mhm.
Oh, Bennett said that row piece and this het piece would look awesome facing off against each other in a wizard duel. That's so true.
Yeah, Holly mentioned that earlier. I've leaned a little bit into it.
Yeah, I think that
Curious.
was when you had stepped out for a moment, Mira. I was asking if this was a companion piece to Flowering Spell.
Ah, okay, yeah. I see it.
Let me pull that up real quick for gits and shiggles.
Yeah.
Let's see. Work.
Oh. Just ugh with a side of ugh.
Mhm.
Say the scaling's a little bit different.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't quite work, but
Still cool
Yeah.
though.
the feeling is definitely there.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm actually gonna grab.
The color,
You're
so it's
guessing.
consistent.
Yeah.
Ooh. That shine.
Mhm.
Trying to find ways to communicate that this isn't shooting out, but it's heading
Right.
towards him.
Mhm.
I think that was my initial concern when I started, and I've been trying to think of ways to address that. It does look a little bit like he's shooting this bolt out of a hollow. I'm just wondering if I should.
That taper definitely helps sell it more, yeah. Oh, I just saw the work in progress you sent, Jade. This is spectacular. Look at how fluffy she is.
She's very fluffy.
Oh, she's very fluffy.
What do we? She's so fluffy.
Oh my gosh, she's so fluffy. How much dedicated wham does it take to get that much fluff?
So much. It's over. It was at least like 5 or 6 different layers as I was trying to layer the fur correctly on top of it itself. But now I don't know what I'm doing. I got distracted watching Matt and I'm like, God, that's so pretty. And he did it so fast and I have so much left to do. So now it's just nice to watch. Look at that. Look at that moth.
Off.
Muff. Oh, those antennae look so tasty. They look like little ferns.
Tasty?
Yes,
You
tasty is
eat
in good art.
you eat ferns?
No, I eat good art, and I'm having a feast
You
today.
we do be feasting.
We be
Mhm.
feasting.
Oh, it's been a minute since I just got to hang out with the homies and watch art. It feels so good. Oh, Edwin asks, would you be able to cover a high viewpoint picture of a three-way battle between ants, bees, and termites, like the face-off before they charge each other? Think a Y-shape empty space between them. Sure, that's something that we've probably considered in the past in terms of, like, historically that they would have a battle of that caliber. Um, an event like that, I'd probably want to contextualize with lore. So, and I've had ideas on what something like that could be. So maybe I'll flesh out those concepts a little bit more, and I'll bring them to the table sometime. Right now, we really are in just a focus mode of just trying to make card art right now, though. So it may be a while before we make anything like that again. Uh, But yeah, it's a great
So we
question.
do
Thank
have,
you.
yeah, we have one other project that we are kind of working on adjacently to this mirror. Do you want to talk about the Song of Origins?
Oh yeah, sure. So the Song of Origins, which we have a teaser for. It's a work in progress on the channel already. The Song of Origins is equivalent to the Book of Genesis in their scriptures, and they don't have written language. That's why it's the Song of Origins. All of their mythology they express through singing and songs, and it's all oral history and passed down through Momoku memories. And so the Song of Origins, we've been slowly working on creating video content surrounding it, so that way we can release that and other songs within their scriptures. Their entire collection of scriptures is called the Song of Aoyama, and it's this song that takes them days to sing, if they were to sing it back to front, or front to back rather. And the so the Song of Origins is the first quote unquote book. It's the first collection of stories within their mythology, and we're working on getting more of that. So the first movement of that song is what we've shown off in that teaser, and that's not finalized. We're doing more rework on the voiceover that I've already done, and we're getting more artwork from our other artist, Perpetual Charles Guerrero, and so we're working on getting more of that out to you guys. We're gonna split that into 3 parts, each part covering a substantial chunk of the story, and then kind of like leaving you hanging a little bit, waiting for the next part. And yeah, it's gonna be really excited. We're making good progress on the first of those 3 parts. We have some spectacular voice acting that we commissioned a while back that we're going to be working with, including the talents of Tamara Ryan and Gianni Montegrano, meme lord extraordinaire, of course. And yeah, we're pretty excited. We're going to be releasing that when it's ready. I don't want to promise anything. We take our time on things. The last time that we tried promising any time frame on that, my previous game designer and I had a massive falling out, and I had to take up the mantle of working on game design and picking up the pace from there, and it was a huge problem, and it delayed the production on the Song of Origins video until now, 2 years later. And so we're working through it. We're getting it ready. Let's see. Sebastian asked, or commented, I didn't want to push it because I'm extremely new in this community, but because we were at the topic of video games, I am an aspiring game dev, and I could imagine this being an amazing setting. Us too. We love this setting. We'd love to see video games made in it. If you as a game designer want to use the setting, just talk to us. We'll try and figure out some way that we can collaborate together. I'm not sure how much that we'd be able to help support anything like that financially. In fact, I'm pretty sure that at the current moment we couldn't. But if you feel... Oh, so good.
We have kind of the absence of finances right now, rather than finances.
Exactly. Most of this is passion work, and the money that we do generate from Patreon goes toward game playtesting, like producing materials for playtesting. It also goes to, when we're in a spot where we're paying our artists. I have myself used the Patreon funds to eat some months, Like we're it's just we use it as we're able, and we give it to our artists as we're able. But a lot of it does go toward playtest materials at the current moment. So if you do feel inspired to work on a game, just know that we wouldn't be able to really back you with any finances, but if you want to do that on your own time, we would love to like work with you and collaborate to make sure that whatever you're working on is canon to the world, and we could collaborate to make that something that's like, you know, as official colony material as it can get. Let's see. I just had a huge idea. Egyptian mummies and memories entombed, leaving a smellable story to whoever opens the jars and coffins. That is something that actually does occur. Is the final thoughts and memories of a deceased being entombed with them. It's not often that it lasts long because of environmental things, but there are some areas in Aoyama where large-scale battles have occurred, and the horror of war is literally like smellable. You can smell the fear and you can smell the horror that occurred on that battlefield by the death pheromones that are released upon the soldier's death, and they have there are entire swaths of old battlefields that you just feel lament and fear and anger and sadness through the entire traversal period through it. It's actually, not to spoil much, but that is a location in the setting in which I'm writing the larger novel within Colony, so... I see what you're doing, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. You ain't slick. Oh god, what is happening?
I do not know.
Ooh.
Nobody. I'm just gonna rotate you, chill. Daddy, chill. Rasterize this. Why won't it rasterize?
Halem says, I don't know why or how, but your art style reminds me of Unreal Tournament 2004.
Well, I've never played that game, but I was a 2000s baby, so I am a fan of franchises from the early 2000s.
This depiction of Hollowcraft is so eldritch and Lovecraftian, and it's perfect. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have been thinking about Hollowcraft for a while, and it's nice to finally kind of get those ideas out of my head. That's been the one nut I've been trying to crack for a minute.
Well, it's paying off. Spectacular work so far. Can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be staring at this image for hours. I hope you know that. Trying to be like, how did he do that? How did he do that? I don't understand.
I do that at every visual artist. I can draw like sketches and stuff like that, but this level of detail, this level of creativity beyond me entirely. Oh, I think I'm gonna stand up for a moment. I've been sitting for so long, my knees are starting to crack.
A little dance.
A little jig, get my knees going.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, I think I might go to the park after this, take a nice walk. Go look at some bugs, flowers. There's this really nice park. It's the one that Jade I took you to. They have this. They have a couple rivers, like little streams that run through it, and one of them has some stepping stones so you can cross it. And I like going out into the middle of the stepping stones and looking down the river and seeing all the light that's filtering in through the leaves and all of the reflections that it makes. It's very pretty. Does Hollowcraft be reminiscent of blood magic mixed with decayed plant magic style? It's similar to that. So it's void magic, but all of the Het's magic is all very like it's all based off of alchemical ingredients. And so like in this case, most of the Hollowcraft magic is you create it using mushrooms and funguses. And so it's very strandular, and it has all of these like gross fibrous things with bulbous ends and spores and stuff attached to it. So that's why you have so much particulate matter kind of flying out of it. um the Het also have blood magic as well, which is one of the things that they trade their silk for. In fact, most of the time when they're trading their silk, it is for other alchemical ingredients because of how much of a surplus of silk they have.
I'm putting words. I'm gonna put some final touches on this for the stream. I
Uh huh.
will probably eventually go back and do some touch-ups on it, but I'm fairly happy with where it's at for calling it presentable and complete.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Matt. This has been a great stream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy with how this turned out. The colors are very different from any colony art I've done before, and I adore it.
Being able to see this aspect of the Het magic is really, really, really good. Like we haven't had a whole lot of depictions of Het magic as of yet, so this is a spectacular jumping off point. Ooh, do bug people drink honeydew from aphids like we humans drink milk from cows? Yes, the foraline, the domesticated Argentine ants, they do in fact uh, domesticate aphids specifically For honeydew, because they call it aphid wine, and it is an intoxicating drink for them. So yes, yes, they absolutely drink honeydew. That is one of the Foraline's exports as for trade. That's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Blacking out the actual hollow, you can see.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Fall off.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Edwin. Have a great one. Oh, I somehow missed this reply to the video game stuff from Sebastian. He said, "No, no, I would be happy to work within the confines of this universe. That's already more than I hoped for. Also, the song storytelling sounds sick." Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we want to encourage creativity. We don't want to stifle that.
We also have a question over in Q&A.
Oh, we do? Whoops. Let's see. Do the various bug folk societies have crime and punishment? Indeed, they do. They all handle it a little differently. There is, for the most part, this is something interesting that it's a very unique thing for Colony. There is a type of ant called the emi, an emifora. They are based off of pavement ants, and they dig out a lot of their home bases. A lot of their mountains don't actually exist in mountains. They dig in like soft stone and other kinds of material like that, like sandstone, flagstone, and we kind of use. We took a lot of liberties with their behavior as far as like how they fill societal roles, but they are kind of known as the prison keepers, and um they are better presented as being like rehabilitation centers where prisoners will go to be rehabilitated and to like, and criminals are rehabilitated to better incorporate themselves into larger societies. Um, but they are not allowed to re-enter those societies. They must create a healthy society for them in their lives with the Emi, and the Emi are kind of like the the prison guards. They act as the people who are trying to help rehabilitate them into healthier social conditioning. Um, and so they're kind of like a taken for everybody. But that's not necessarily something that exists in all areas of Aoyama. And so there are other systems in place. I've had an idea of having like an Alcatraz kind of a prison where criminals are sent to, and then there's a breakout where a bunch of fire ants get together and they create a raft and escape the prison and start terrorizing local mountains and other peoples and settlements. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about like crime and punishment in Sakuda society, but it depends on region to region.
I will say that I am good to call it there, guys.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Very, very pretty.
Thank you so much, Matt. This has been a
Yeah,
great
for sure.
stream.
Yeah, these are always fun.
Yeah. And thank you to everybody who showed up today and asked questions and hung out with us. This has been a very, very fun afternoon.
Mhm.
I guess I will. One last time, I'll share our Discord server, and let's see. There's that, and with that, I think we'll call it quits. Thanks everybody. Thanks for showing up.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
And until next time, we're the Colony team. Take care, guys.